Hello, geographers. Welcome back again. So today we're going to explore two of North America's most distinctive desert landscapes, basin and range, and mesa and scarp terrains. These dramatic landforms tell fascinating stories about the forces that have shaped our southwestern deserts over millions of years. All right, so first we're going to start with excuse me, I am on the wrong slide. First, we're starting with the basin and range terrain. Basin and range topography characterizes most of the southwestern interior of the United States, particularly Nevada, western Utah, southern Arizona, and parts of California, and New Mexico, parts of New Mexico as well. As you drive through these regions, you'll notice a repeating pattern of isolated mountain ranges separated by broad, flat basins, and again, a mountain range, a landscape that has three principal components. So let's talk about the mountain ranges. The mountain ranges dominate the horizons in all directions. Unlike the continuous chains of the Rockies or the Appalachians, these mountains appear as islands rising abruptly from flat or semi-flat plains. This distinctive pattern resulted from existential tectonics. As the Earth's crust stretched, it fractured into blocks, with some rising as mountains while others dropping to form the basins. The Basin and Range province of Nevada exemplifies this pattern perfectly, with over 200 mountain ranges running roughly north and south. So we also have the Piedmont zone, and this forms the transition between the steep mountain slopes and nearly flat basins. This foot of the mountain region contains some of the most distinctive basin and range landforms, and I've mentioned them in a prior slide or lecture. The alluvial fans, and these are fan-shaped deposits where the streams emerge from mountain canyons. As the water leaves the confinement of the canyon. It then spreads out, slows down, and deposits any sediment and in a characteristic fan pattern. Death Valley National Park showcases spectacular examples, particularly at the mouth of Furnace Creek, where you can observe a textbook alluvial fan morphology. When multiple alluvial fans merge along the mountain front, they form a bajada, a continuous apron of sediment that extends for miles. Along Nevada's Spring Mountains west of Las Vegas, you'll see impressive bajadas stretched eastward and their gentle slopes barely perceptible to the casual observer, but clear on topographic maps. Now let's talk about the basins. The basins represent the third component. These are broad, flat bottom depressions that typically contain playas or dry lake beds at their lowest points. Since the basins have interior drainage, meaning no outlet to the ocean, any water flowing into them ultimately evaporates or seeps into the ground. The Badwater Basins in Death Valley illustrate this perfectly. Precipitation from the surrounding mountains wash minerals into this vast basin, where evaporation leaves behind a brilliant white salt and mineral crust, as you can see in the slide. In this photo, you can see me and my son standing in the basin of the Badwater Basin. In the background here, you can see the alluvial fans formed at the Piedmont zone of the mountains and the odd ground covering that is right here behind us. This odd ground covering is a result of the minerals left behind after water has evaporated. And once that water evaporates, the minerals will form different patterns. Now, here's another image. In the background of this photo, you can also see the alluvial fans coming together and forming the bajada. In the center and foreground here, you can see minerals left behind by the evaporated water that has washed down from the surrounding mountains. The path here that you see is simply the minerals that have been crushed by pedestrians walking on it, as well as the black part here. That's just dirt from pedestrian shoes. Now, these images are in the same exact location, the same Badwater Basin in Death Valley. However, this was taken in January after a rain. Parts of the basin were covered with shallow water shown on the left, and the part that has partially evaporated left behind this crunchy material. It looks like snow in the image, but it's actually minerals, mostly salts, left behind from the evaporation. It was quite an interesting sight to see. And also, I thought quite beautiful because the water in the basin reflected the images of the mountains. So let's move on to the mesa and scarp terrain. Moving eastward to the Four Corners region where Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico meet, we encounter an entirely different landscape pattern, the mesa and scarp terrain. This topography results not from faulting, but from differential erosion of horizontal sedimentary rock layers. Mesas are flat-topped, steep-sided hills with limited summit areas. The Spanish word mesa literally means table, an apt description to their appearance. Shiprock Pinnacle in New Mexico stands as a dramatic example, visible for miles across the landscape. We also have scarps. Scarps is short for escarpments, and scarps are steep, often vertical cliffs that form the edges of mesas. These develop where resistant rock layers on the top protect the underlying softer material from erosion. Mesa Verde in Colorado demonstrates this beautifully with its iconic flat top protected by resistant sandstone cap rock. This landscape results from horizontal sedimentary strata with differential erosional resistances. As erosion progresses, this creates a hierarchy of landforms. So let's go over some landforms within the mesa and scarp terrain. Plateaus are extensive flat-topped areas bounded by escarpments on the top and on at least one side. The Colorado Plateau itself represents the largest example, covering 130,000 square miles across the Four Corners states. When erosion advances further, removing most of the resistant cap rock, we get a striped plain, a flattish erosional surface where the scarp edge is less prominent. Parts of eastern Utah show this stage in the erosional sequence. Next, we have buttes. They represent the next stage, erosional remnants with very small surface areas and prominent cliffs. Monument valleys, iconic formations, illustrate classic buttes standing as isolated sentinels in an otherwise flat landscape. The final stage produces pillars, steep-sided spires with resistant cap rocks perched at the top of the eroded column. The totem pole in Monument Valley demonstrates this ultimate phase in the erosional progression. So the Arches National Park in Utah also contains remarkable features formed through specialized erosional processes. Arches develop when erosion attacks the lower portion of a rock formation while leaving a resistant cap rock intact above. Arches National Park in Utah contains over 2,000 natural stone arches, including the iconic delicate arch that appears in Utah's license plate. Natural bridges form differently. They result when a stream erodes through the neck of a meandering canyon, creating an opening beneath the resistant cap rock. Pedestals or hoodoos form when trickling rainwater preferentially erodes less resistant lower rock layers while leaving harder capped material perched above. Bryce Canyon National Park showcases thousands of these colorful, whimsical formations. Not far from the Badwater Basin within Death Valley National Park, there are also great examples of these arches. So you can see here where the water in a water event has flowed through and eroded this beautiful arch. Finally, certain arid and semi-arid regions develop what we call badlands. Intricately dissected landscapes characterized by a maze of short, steep slopes and minimal vegetation. Rapid erosion of soft sedimentary rock creates this distinctive terrain. Badlands National Park in South Dakota offers perhaps the most famous example, though similar landscapes appear throughout the Southwest. What makes Badlands unique is their extensive network of rills and gullies, forming a dendritic drainage pattern so dense that early travelers found the terrain impossible to cross, hence the name Badlands. Okay, so to conclude our lecture on Chapter 18, from Nevada's basin and range to Utah's arches and buttes, this distinctive desert landscape provides natural laboratories for understanding geologic processes. They also offer some of North America's most spectacular scenery, drawing millions of visitors annually. So next time you encounter these landscapes, whether in person or through photographs, I hope you'll appreciate not just their beauty, but also marvel at how wind and water has shaped them. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next chapter's lecture.